I met a good friend in school. It was kind of an uptight religious school. I was raised in the church, but this friend that I met, he was there for other reasons. I kinda tried to talk to him about religion from time to time, but he kinda blew it off. One day, he said, "Why don't you come over to my house?" So we go over there, and it's really nice. Kind of ornate, you know? A lot of collectible household items. And one of the items is a Ouija board. He convinces me to play, which goes against everything my mom had told me. She said if you mess with that stuff, something could attach to you. It could follow you back if it wants to. So leave it alone. Me being a teenager, I was like, let me try it. So we gave it a shot, and we got a few interesting responses. I was like, okay, that's that. So fast forward now. We're in our late 20s. I'm in school. Well, actually, I had just left college to move back in with my mom, to help her with my grandmother. She was suffering with dementia at the time. That same friend calls us up at maybe 3 or 3:30 in the morning. It was December. It was cold, snowing, and I could hear him, my friend. He was just crying hysterically. So we go over to his house. He only lives a few miles away. We get there and he's standing outside in the snow, with no shoes on, just an undershirt and jeans. He immediately gets in the car and starts crying again. He's shaking uncontrollably, probably from being cold. He starts to calm down and we ask him, "What's going on? What happened?" He says, "I came home from hanging out with some friends, and I smelt this awful smell, like sulfur. I looked around the house. When I came into my living room, I saw a man sitting on my couch." He said the man was very good looking, very well kept. Now my friend had a dog, a big Rottweiler. And this Rottweiler, instead of barking and going crazy like usual, sat right next to the man. He said that when he looked at his eyes, they were gray. There was no pupil. There was no white. It was just completely grayed over. He said there was no verbal communication, but the way the guy looked at him, he felt his thoughts were being read by this thing, or that his soul was being taken, and that this being had him right where he wanted him. At this point, my mom and I decided to go into the house, and it's a wreck. Cupboard doors are basically torn off the hinges. Food and plates are scattered all over the kitchen floor, and there was dog vomit in the living room and multiple areas of the house. Like I said, I was born and raised in the church, and I know there's evil out there. This certainly opened my eyes to it more, seeing what I saw, what I sensed. The atmosphere was heavy in that house. He explained later that once he felt that a part of his soul was being taken by this entity, he rushed to the front door, and the door wouldn't budge. In fact, he broke his bedroom window just to get out of there. He still insists that that man was the devil. At some point, we called some priests over to come and bless the house, and they all had this look to them. It was like maybe there really was something here. And during the prayer, my friend, the one who went through all this, he straight fainted onto the floor. So I don't know if it was a possession or what, but whatever happened, it was crazy. So when I was 14, my parents transferred me to a private Catholic prep school. I was not happy about changing districts, and I had a really hard time making friends as a young teen. A few weeks into the semester, I was invited to a sleepover with 3 girls I knew from English class. I didn't really know them very well, but my mom made me go anyway, in an effort to help me adjust. One of the girls, Kathy, brought tarot cards and a Ouija board to the party. I had never played with a Ouija board before. I was assured it was nothing more than a board game, and because I was goth, I would enjoy the experience. The four of us, Zoe, Kathy, Jess, and myself, set up the board in the late afternoon, in Jess's bedroom. Right from the start, the board was crazy active. I was really skeptical, and didn't want to play if the other girls weren't going to take it seriously. They swore they weren't messing around. The board continued to spell out things like hello and play over and over before we could ask it any questions. We finally asked if there was a spirit with us and if it had a name, to which it responded Hector. This was when Jess began getting anxious. She told us that when she was about 5, she had an imaginary friend named Hector. I was still skeptical, but officially creeped out. We asked if he had any other spirits with him. He said yes. We asked if he knew their names. With no hesitation, the board spelled Marie. Now this time, Zoe broke down crying and didn't want to play anymore. We stopped playing to console her, but she was very worked up. Apparently, just 3 months earlier, her grandmother Marie passed away from cancer. Since we were only classmates, there was no way any of us could have known about that event. Zoe refused to play with the board after that, despite our attempts to get her to say goodbye. Kathy, Jess, and I continued to play without Zoe, which proved to also be a mistake. The place where Zoe was sitting felt ice cold compared to the rest of the room, and the planchette kept changing places on the board without us touching it. Later that evening, while we were all eating dinner, Jess's 5-year-old brother began telling us about his imaginary friend, Hector. We asked him if he knew about his sister's imaginary friend when she was a kid, and he said no. All this paranormal talk reached Jess's mom, who quickly sent us home, and we were never invited back. I go to art school in NYC. I love art. I love creativity and making things come to life. It's fun, relaxing, and rewarding. I also like the occult. I don't actually believe in anything, but I like the power that the occult has with other people, especially tarot cards. I also like religions, the idea of a god or gods, and life after death. It's fascinating, but to me that's all it is. So here we are, my final project in my sculpture class, and I have almost absolute freedom to create whatever I want, with the help of 2 other classmates. So I take the lead and suggest a Ouija board. I never tried one before, but I always wanted one. It's exciting, and my teammates don't seem to care. They just want to finish the semester. Now here's the thing. I had to sell this idea to my professor, that it isn't just a board game, and that this is actually an art piece. How can I do that? Shock value. So I told him that this piece won't be an ordinary Ouija board. It will be a special one, created mainly to attract demons and incredibly evil spirits. My professor was ecstatic. He's loving the idea and gives me the go-ahead. For the first week, I plan it all out. I put real effort into the typography, background symbols, wood, and composition. I end up having it done on a laser burner. I'm proud of how the surface turned out. This was done about a week ago. I don't remember anything weird the first night, but it was the second night that I started having trouble sleeping. It's the end of the semester, and I have a few big art projects due as my finals, so I heard it's normal to be stressed. I've had problems sleeping before, but this seemed different. It hasn't really gotten better since. Even one of my classmates commented on my eyes yesterday, saying I have bags under them. I disagree. Anyways, that first night, the reason I couldn't sleep was because I thought I saw something. I have a couple of monitors on my desk, and when it starts to get really late, I drift from schoolwork to watching stupid videos on YouTube and just surfing the web. I don't know what I clicked, but when a new browser popped up, there was a figure in the reflection sitting on my bed, right behind me. I turned around and there was nothing there, which I'm happy about, because my dorm room is really small. Like if there was really someone there, they would have been less than a foot away. No time at all for me to react fast enough. I looked back at my screen, and there was nothing. I had a new feeling in my gut to research Ouija board history. I spent the rest of that night and morning just looking up facts and strange stories. Did you know Ouija boards have only been around for approximately 130 years? I always thought they were ancient. They really did start as a fun board game. I did my best to get some sleep. Another weird thing is, I haven't been dreaming. I usually dream of something or another. I wouldn't say I'm confused when I wake up with nothing to remember. It's just awkward. 3 days ago, I added my first demonic symbols with a wood burner. I found a list of them and burnt them into the corners. Pure aesthetics, but my friends do think it looks cool. That same night when I brought it to my room, I think I heard a whisper. Another thrilling experience when you're tired and your mind plays tricks on you. It was really late, and I know there are other artists on my floor, but it was a weird whisper, and it sounded like it was right in the room. I convinced myself that if the Ouija board was real, I haven't even used it yet, so how could spirits find me? I haven't even made the planchette. I stayed up late again, doing more research, looking up scarier stories and experiences. That night, something else happened. I'm a very deep sleeper when I actually fall asleep, especially here in NYC, with asshole drivers always honking their horns, and drunk people singing and yelling at each other on the streets. Don't even get me started about the construction that takes place early in the morning. But something woke me up. It sounded like a girl screaming outside. Like right outside my window, as if she was falling. I kind of panicked, because I honestly thought someone fell from the building. I knocked over my plant to open my blinds and looked down at the street, but there was nothing. 2 nights ago, something really gross and disturbing happened. It could have been another hallucination, but I honestly didn't want to find out. I started seeing blurs and motions out of my peripherals, but I figured it just comes with being really tired. Something did happen though. I want to warn you all. This might just be too gross, and it's pretty personal. It has to do with going to the bathroom. I was using the toilet, taking a dump in my tiny dorm bathroom. Seriously, it's so small my knees hit the wall. It's annoying. While I'm finishing up, wiping myself, I felt a weird clump. It almost felt like it was moving. So before I threw it into the toilet, I looked. I could have sworn it was a big spider covered in shit, and it was still moving in between my fingers. I freaked out and threw it in. I could still see the dark clump as the toilet paper soaked around it. I was waiting for the spider to struggle and climb out, but it wasn't moving. It was such a horrible feeling. Was it even real, or am I just seeing things again? When I realized I'd been staring into the toilet for 5 minutes, I just started laughing. And as soon as I flushed and left the bathroom, there's the Ouija board, leaned against the wall, witnessing the entire thing. Yesterday I was hanging out with some friends in the common room. I told them about the scream I heard outside my window. None of them had heard it. I started joking about my Ouija board being so powerful, it was letting me contact ghosts already. Then this girl I didn't even know told me, "That's not funny at all." I thought that she was just another weirdo that actually believes in ghosts and demons, but it wasn't that. She informed me that there was a suicide in this building last year. A student jumped. It's something the school has been doing their best to keep quiet. I never knew about any suicide in our school before, especially one that happened just last year. It gave me shivers talking about it, and I don't think I got any sleep at all last night. Today I walked around the city, taking a break from my projects, but now I'm back in my room, and my Ouija board is here to wish me good night. As I write this, I still have another 2.5 weeks to finish this project. Even with all this crazy stuff happening, I'm happy with how my Ouija board is turning out so far. This happened around 1999. I was 16 years old, in high school. One night, I woke up to use the bathroom, something I do on a regular basis. When I opened the door, I noticed there was a figure right outside my parents' room. It was leaning up against the wall. What was unique about it was that it was darker than the dark. There were no lights on, but I could still see it. At first, I wasn't thinking anything paranormal. I thought it was one of them. I said my stepdad's name. I didn't hear anything. I said, "Is that you?" And it talked to me, but it wasn't his voice.
Go back to sleep.
I said, "I have to use the restroom," and it said,
Go back to sleep.
So I turned around and got in my bed. The next morning, I went to get something to eat before school. I told my mom to call my stepdad and ask if he was outside the door last night. She called. He just laughed it off and said no. My mom kind of gave me a serious look, but didn't say anything else. Anyway, about a month or so passed, and when I woke up one morning, my brother told me he'd been up for a couple of hours. He said he saw the same thing. So I went back to my mom, and she told me in confidence that when we lived in our former house, something similar happened to both her and my stepdad. She saw something when she was coming back from the laundry room in a totally different house, and my stepdad had seen a figure pass through the dining room area. They didn't want to tell us. Then my mom said that when she was young, she had played with a Ouija board with her sister. This was a long time ago, maybe in the late 60s. Anyways, they did this at their house, and at the time, her grandparents were staying there with them. As they were playing, they started hearing crashes all over the house, and loud noises, and they said they could hear footsteps. And when they got up the next morning, their grandfather asked what the hell they were doing all night, and said he had a hard time sleeping through all that racket. Hey guys and ladies, thanks for watching. If you want me to tell your story, or read a creepypasta, email me at the address in the description. Be good to animals, even people. Shit. Once again, I'm at a party wishing I stayed the fuck home. And this music sucks. Hey, what are you guys doing back here?
We're gonna play with Luigi board. You wanna play?
Sure. I don't believe in all that bullshit. This is a weird looking Ouija board, man.
No, Luigi board.
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone here with us right now?
No way. You're doing that.
I'm not doing anything. Are you moving it?
I'm not doing it.
If you're really here, then say something.
Luigi time!
Ah! Holy shit!
Oh, mamma mia!
Já, snemma, Bergsbus, Hirsch.
I looked into the toilet paper.
I also like religions.
Is there anyone here with us right now? Is there anyone here with...
My stomach went.
There's someone with us.